What is Knightfall? Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today we'll be going over the basic story of Knightfall, as well as the 3 pieces of media that took portions of the story and adapted it to their iterations. So there's 2 animated ones and 2 live action ones that I want to address. And this is to give a heads up to those who go into the Knightfall movie that they're going to bring out next year. Hopefully they do all 3 parts as opposed to just the first one for Batman the Dark Knight Returns. So with that said, DC asked the question back in 1993, at what lengths would Bruce Wayne go to if his mind and body were broken? And the run ran for a couple years between 93 and 94 with the story of Knightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End. Now, the story itself involves all of Bruce's rogues gallery, and one of the main characters that was involved for most of it was actually Bane, where in the timeline itself, Dick Grayson had grown up and had donned the new mantle of Nightwing. So Bruce was actually training a new Robin at that time, which was Tim Drake. Now, for those who read the comics, you probably would know that it was Tim Drake, but those who go back and actually read those, you can actually pick out pages and ask someone, hey, which Robin is this? Because they look exactly the same. Regardless, they would go out each night and have to deal with multiple villains. And it started to take its toll on Bruce to the point where Bane took the opportunity about halfway through Knightfall to snap him in half effectively. So with Bruce out of the picture, it was just Tim Drake for the time being. However, there was someone else that actually took up the mantle of Batman until it turned even worse, which was John Paul. For those who know him from what I'm going to talk about later on, yes, Azrael. But on the Bruce side of things, he ended up in England meeting up with an old fling of his, Chandra Kinsolving, and she was actually introduced not far too long before Knightfall, being able to use psychic abilities to heal people, and that was effectively the main reason why she was involved in this story, which was to heal Bruce. But by doing so, she ended up having her mind regress to that of a child. But not for too long. The story after that one, which was in 2002, if I remember correctly, had Barbara Gordon mention that she had recovered. But besides that, John Paul had taken over the mantle of Batman and had fought Bane a few times at least, to the point where he took the outfit of Batman and stripped it of what it had and reinvented it for his own purpose. Now, for the most part, that is Knightfall, but there is, well, apart from the portion involving Chandra kinsolving, but eventually Bruce ends up returning to Gotham and confronting Azrael and beating the shit out of him. So, I think there's more to it, but I remember that being the basic idea of it. Alright. So with that stated, I believe there is some more stuff to it, but like I mentioned before, it's been a while. With that said, let's take a look at the pieces of media, Batman media, that had adapted portions of the Knightfall storyline. So 5 years after the launch of Knightfall back in 1993, the DCAU decided to adapt a decent portion of Knightfall into an episode for Superman the Animated Series, that being the episode Nighttime from Season 3. And at the beginning of the episode, they had one of, I believe it was only like 2 characters that they originally created for the DCAU. The character in question was Roxy Rocket. And the thing is, I looked up whether or not she was a character that existed before the cartoon, and she was really only tied to that universe until 2006 or 2016, I think it was. But regardless, she winds up going to Metropolis to cause some chaos and havoc, just to have some fun. And Superman stops her within, I don't know, what was it, 30 seconds or some crap like that, in which she spills the beans that Batman hasn't been seen in a while. So he goes to Gotham and confronts the Robin at that time, Tim Drake, to ask where Batman is. And Robin's like, yeah, he's around somewhere. In which Superman replies with, where's Bruce at? So he spills the beans that he hasn't seen Bruce in a while. And so he ended up having to don the Batman suit and accompany Robin to go see Commissioner Gordon. And by doing so, they find out that Bane is part of the problem. So they go to Wayne Enterprises because apparently he told work that he would be gone for a bit. But it was found out by Superman that his phone was literally bugged by microscopic tech bugs. So they go to some of Batman's rogues gallery, and Robin tells him to intimidate Penguin. So he ends up eviscerating Penguin's desk, scaring the shit out of him. Considering, Superman is incredibly strong. But it boils down to a supposed rematch with Bane, where he thinks he's bested Batman, a second time, but it's found out that it was Superman wearing the Batman suit, and he ends up beating the crap out of him. So, I think this was the iteration that had the most amount of Knightfall in it. But next one actually happened not far too long after this one. So in the later Gotham seasons, they ended up having Victor Hugo Strange convince Theo Gallivan that he was effectively Azrael, as he was just recently resurrected with no prior memory of who he was or how he was. And yeah, it wasn't even John Paul. I wanted to say, I believe they wanted people to forget about the name John Paul for a little bit. So that's why they went with Theo Gallivan instead. But they didn't do anything else in terms of the Knightfall story, just Azrael in general. And now for the last one, which is. And the last one, which was the final movie in the Dark Knight trilogy, was Dark Knight Rises. And this one had a little bit more than the Gotham TV show. The main villain was Bane, and what they did adapt from Knightfall was Bane breaking Batman's back towards the end of the movie and him faking his death. So he ended up leaving Gotham City and going to England with Alfred at the end of the movie. But yeah, that's all that I remember them adapting from Knightfall for that movie. Yeah. Anyways, that's the only ones I remember offhand that adapted any portion of Knightfall for its story. I am looking forward to it. I will have to look into whether or not any place had copies of, what was it? Aztec Batman or something like that, and actually watch it. Because I don't recall seeing it in places, but I'll have to take another look. But anyways, that's gonna do for today. Um, Next time we will more than likely cover the next issue of Power Rangers Prime. But until next time, everybody, goodbye.